Recording in progress.
All right, good morning, everyone. We'll call to order the Southborough Golf Committee on December 15th at 9:01 a.m. I think we'll follow the agenda here, and then we have several additional topics if we have time. We'll get to. We'll do approval of the minutes first. So I think these are the minutes from November 3rd. I will brought a copy here for those of us in the room. Any comments on the minutes?
If you can't find them, I sent the draft out on November 13th, I believe.
No comments from me.
I have no comments. Okay, so a roll call vote then. Bill?
I approve, vote to approve.
Nick?
I approve.
And Ira?
I love them.
And I approve. So we're considered those approved. Excellent. We'll move on to following the agenda, course signage. So, Bill?
I keep poking around. From last time, you might remember that I was trying to get information from the town on who does the signage. They did hook me up with the guy who does them. Love to work with us, of course. I told him we were in the really early stages, which is true. I told him that my dream was to have a nice big sign at the end of the parking lot, welcome to Southborough Golf, and to have to depict the old course via a photograph that we would dig up and emphasize the historic nature of the place. I think that's kind of a theme that's carrying through, and I think that's a very good one for us to build on. He'd be happy to do that. He said that for a 2 to 3 foot sign, which is not all that big really, the way I described it, it's probably $3,000. That includes the cedar posts and it includes the installation. Okay. Meanwhile, I was trying to figure out if there are any pictures of the golf course around. Again, the idea being that I wanted to incorporate one of them on the sign. The Historical Society has nothing. I was able to figure out who to talk to at St. Mark's, very cooperative. I told them that this could only reflect well on the relationship between the town and the school. So yeah, sure. Problem is they don't have anything to speak of. They sent me 3 black and whites that do relate to the golf course. You can't really identify the course itself. They're pretty grainy. They're not great pictures, and I don't really think that they're going to get us anywhere. I'll circulate those out to you guys just for kicks anyway. One of the pictures is a photograph of the St. Mark's golf team taken at the school, not at the course. So you'll just love to see the bloomers that they're wearing anyway. Look, the guys look a lot like you, Tony, the way they get all dressed up for their golf game. So if nothing else, we'll get some amusement out of it. So I think that's kind of a bust, that aspect of it. And clearly it's not going to cost as much for us to produce a big sign that does not have a picture on it. So kind of back to the drawing board on that. And I think the way to proceed will be for us at some point to pretty much specify exactly what we think we want. Is 2 by 3 big enough? Does it need to be 3 by 4? You know, maybe Ira and I, as founding members of the signage subcommittee, should spend a little time and mock something up and socialize it with you guys, and then get a quote just so we have a stake in the ground.
Perfect. Yeah, it's unfortunate. You would think there's a picture somewhere from 1900 of something from the course, but I don't know how you find that.
The best one, and I'll send this to you. The best one is it's taken from the 7th green, looking sort of up the hill. You can identify the contours of the course, but beyond that, it's really hard to say that this is Southborough.
Yeah, it's probably not worth mocking up what looks like an old representation of golfers from 1900 on the course, right? I don't know,
Well, Tony,
or whatever.
yeah, one alternative would be for the 4 of us to get dressed in bloomers and, we could put a filter on it. It'd be easy for you and me to look old.
I'll volunteer for almost anything, but not for that.
You
All right,
just
well,
keep your
we'll keep
mask
that-
on. Keep your mask on, Ira.
Keep that in our back pocket as as the signs evolve. Maybe we'll come back to that last resort, so.
So Bill, just to follow up real quickly, I am around and available for, a huddle. But we're doing a mock-up whenever it's convenient for you.
I think we need to schedule a coffee meeting and really put our heads to this, Ira.
Happy to do that.
Excellent.
I'll
Anything
come
else?
back to you.
Anything else, Bill?
No, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, we move on then. Next on the agenda is T-box repositioning. So I just chatted with Mark Purple, actually, when I was coming into this meeting. There were 2 bids that came back from the quote that went out, and he believes that largely because of the sort of short time period that was requested in the bids to do the work, that the bids came in very high. And so those have been dismissed. And the town is going to come back to this again for a spring project, try to give a little more flexibility, and Mark strongly believes that the prices will come down. And so I think we'll let the town, follow that process and see see how the quotes come in next time. Any questions about that? So why don't we go to well, since we'll talk about parking. So I talked also I was chatting with Mark Purple. I said, so what's going on with the parking lot? He said that there's a quote out for a number of parking projects in town, and including on that list of projects is to pave the parking lot at the golf course. They're expecting bids pretty soon, and depending on what the number looks like, we can all decide how to proceed. He's, thinking that the right way to proceed here would be to have the money for this parking lot come out of the golf course revolving fund. Since there are funds that are accruing there, so have the golf course pay for the parking lot. And potentially do that through a bond. So he was going to have Brian, I forget what Brian's last name is, kind of do the financial model of what that would look like, depending on what the parking lot estimate comes in. And then we can all decide how we want to proceed. He also said that, I guess a change was made by the select board or some other committee over the last few days about how much money can be approved from the golf course revolving fund. So something about the limit being raised to $100,000. I think the limit might have been $50,000 before. So we all have a little more authority to allocate funds from that, I think, right now. So I guess, if we get a reasonable bid in, then, we can proceed with parking, paving the parking lot. I also mentioned to him in that discussion that we should be thinking about, if we're talking about bonding and how money gets allocated, we should be thinking about the sprinklers. Since we have a pretty good estimate from the golf course management company about what sprinklers might cost, and so maybe we'll come back to the sprinkler topic in a little bit. But certainly as part of putting a financial model, we should consider sprinklers in that, so we can make sure that the funds that we appear to have available to us are going to be able to cover things that we want to do. So anyways, that was, I guess, my comments on parking. Any comments or questions about parking?
Maybe it's a related point, Tony. I asked Mark to send me over the agreement that we have with the management company. He did, and I think I know for myself I need to become familiar with the way it all works. So I had said at an earlier meeting I wanted to start doing some modeling. I think I'm going to get to that in the next month or so. So yeah, maybe that's appropriate to have on the next agenda, maybe a quick chat about how far I've gotten toward modeling what a kind of debt service we can afford, et cetera.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, we'll move past parking then. So We were gonna talk about, even though it's not on the agenda, we were gonna talk about, I think a discussion's been going on, Nick, about potential winter uses, right? I think we have someone in the audience here. Yeah, why don't you come on up, and I apologize, your name?
Tim Davis.
Tim Davis, that's right. So Nick and Tim, what have you guys been talking about?
So Tim proactively reached out to me via email. I believe he was viewing one of our last meetings. So enthusiastically, he got me a lot of the answers we were looking for about the rec department taking on the financial liabilities, the actual liabilities, about waivers that may be needed. And it sounds like the rec department is on board with winter usage for the golf course. So I'll let Tim speak more towards what they can do and provide for us.
Yeah, like you said, I tuned into the last meeting, or one of the last meetings, when I saw the agenda potentially involve rec usage. Using the golf course in the off season and in season has been a goal of ours, and we're slowly getting in there on the in season with some programming, but obviously in the off season, thinking about alternative uses, just from, snowshoeing, hiking, cross country, things that you guys spoke about. My ears perked up a little bit when you were chatting about it. So I just wanted to make it known that we were completely for it, to partner with you all. I think we have structures in place to address some of the issues, specifically around liability, financial costs of programming and staffing and things of that nature that we could kind of join forces on to hopefully make something happen. But I just wanted to make it known that if allowed, and obviously I'm not completely sure of the access, the layout of where we would be allowed, things of that nature. Obviously, there has to be a little more work done, but we would be here definitely to entertain it, to hopefully get the most usage out of the area as we can for the community.
That sounds great. And then I think, again, subject to protecting the golf course.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, so I just, since we talked about that so much last time, just wanted to emphasize that again, protecting the golf course while hopefully expanding winter usage. So how do we proceed on this? Like, how do we take a next step at, I don't know, formalizing a proposal for what the winter usage might be?
So I guess it comes down to what I think you would see as acceptable activities. With that idea of protecting the facility in mind, obviously priority number one. What you all or the management group would be willing to allow. I'm sure there's some things on the course they don't want touched over the off season, obviously the greens, stuff like that. So just figuring out what I think you consider to be an acceptable use, and then kind of coming up with, do we want it formal, do we want it informal, and kind of the setup of just the access, I guess, to the course.
Yeah, well, we should have an open discussion here about this then. Like, I don't know how we all want to think about this. Maybe Nick, you've been thinking about this some. What are your thoughts here?
Everything that Tim says sounds great to me. I think we're looking at primarily, if it snows, how to get the parking lot shoveled or plowed or use school access, but B, some of the activities would be snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, sledding, and C, protecting the greens, maybe roping off anything that would be hazardous if you trip and fell into a sand trap. That could potentially become an injury, twisted ankle, something like that. So snow removal, acceptable uses, and protecting the course.
Got John and Dick here from the management company. Let's invite any comment from you guys about, from the standpoint of course protection.
Course protection, with the, presently, neighbors or whoever is on the course, they're involved. We have that, we're walking parks, they do cross skiing. The amount of activities, besides sledding, trying to encourage cross country occurs, the walking already occurs. Recreation after that, I don't know what the plans are. Presently, the gate will be locked. Pro shop is shut down. There's no water there. use, and then more than likely will not. Because the uncertain winters. OCX water source is a pit, but the town does. Which is.
Excuse me, Tony, I'm having a really hard time hearing John. Could you summarize what he said?
So, and yeah, we'll ask John to maybe just come up one more row there so he can be heard, but so John was
Just
saying
yell it.
essentially. Yeah, John was essentially saying that, the course is used informally by the neighbors today. And, no protections on the course. I will say a couple of days ago, I took my dog to the course, there's snow on the course, I thought, well, I'll walk it and see what it looks like. I ran into quite a few people who were out on the course walking their dogs. And I don't know if people are walking on the greens, walking on the tee boxes. I don't know if we should be, like trying to stake off some areas, my dog
Right now,
walked through a sand trap. I didn't really see there when I was walking through a sand trap.
right now, the amount of traffic that goes through is manageable. What it is, how it is. There is no issues with it.
Yeah.
What could happen afterwards? Again, that's something that you'd have to be responsible for, or whoever's there. Like you said, you'd have to get, obviously some type of porta potties. I would assume if you're gonna open it up for a program, you have to have that access, which we don't have. But we're not gonna have the staff. We will not staff.
Yeah, no, so I think we're assuming here that you guys are essentially hands off if the
Right.
town does this.
And the other thing is we gotta check the liability. And that's the issue which we don't want to increase. We do put up no trespassing signs. Just protect us at each entrance. The gates are continuously locked so people don't. And again, there's things on site that do have value. In the
And
past,
I
it
guess
has
when you
been an
say
issue.
the gates are locked, so like, is there a gate to the parking lot?
Yes,
And that is locked,
yes.
although I think it's open now. It was
Uh,
open for the Christmas
It-
trees.
It was
It's
not
already-
open. It was not open yesterday when I drove through.
It is not, it will not be unless I'm there, and I don't even go in. I usually go in through a small gate at the fire station. They allow me to park there. Because I'm out there in and out type things, then I don't even go in because usually it's snow. We don't remove snow. The town does not remove snow there. They remove it up to the maintenance building out of there.
So when we think about, and I don't even know where the sledding occurs on the course, if people are informally sledding the course right now, where does that occur? I've never done.
I'm not
this.
sure.
It's up at the 6T area.
Yeah.
That's 6 near the road.
Oh, way up on the hill.
That's probably
It's a gr-
about it.
and it's a-
Otherwise,
It's a great spot for it too. People park on Lattisquama and they come in sort of at the bottom of the 6th fairway and then hike up and sled down. So my sense is they're probably all over the tee box up there. I don't know, John, you would know better. Have you ever seen any damage in the spring?
No, they don't, they more or less go to the center of the hill towards the 5th green, and they don't go past that big giant oak. I've never seen any issues up there, and the names that are there now, they're very considerate, which I appreciate.
Yeah, you'd have to sled pretty far to get to the green.
Yeah, and people are still gonna park on Lattisquama because nobody wants to walk a country mile to get to sled. So,
And I guess, yeah, so I guess sledding is one thing, and then potentially cross-country skiing, I guess is another thing. If, I don't know how this would occur, but if a lot of snow arrived and we wanted to groom a trail. You considered that, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, that's all things we'd have to look into. This would be not foreign to us, but this would be a new endeavor. And I think going off things that we have to balance, I would say we'd have to balance just the natural recreation use of it and then organized. Because I think there is a disadvantage to programming out the course in entirety of the winter. We wouldn't be looking to do that.
Yep.
Kind of, 1 or 2 off special events or something, a guided hike with snowshoeing or something like that. I wouldn't by any means picture us trying to schedule out programming and, heavy access on the course just because of that protection factor and liability potentially. So I wouldn't advocate for that. But those are the things we'd have to look into. If we get a good fall with snow, and we want to do a guided snowshoe one-off in the winter or something like that. That's more of what I'm thinking, outside of the natural usage of the course.
and also to notice that at the present time, no vehicles allowed on the golf course. That would occur as a track and shoot. That they can't go out there.
Oh, I see. So
It's-
to consider grooming a cross-country trail,
Right now, you would not be able to.
we're not allowed to do it.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's pretty much self-groomed today. There are diehards who will go out and who will cut a trail. And those of us who are lazy cross-country skiers will capitalize on that, just hop in their tracks. But then those nasty snowshoers get out there and they tromp all over that track. So there's a natural tension between those who snowshoe and those who ski.
And so then I guess maybe you have not envisioned a reason to unlock the parking.
Right. I think those are all the details we'd have to figure out with the management team or with Public Works or
Yeah,
just access in general.
yeah,
But again, it'd be more so if we're unlocking the parking lot, that would be an organized effort.
yeah.
Again, once or twice over the winter to do something special. It would be a daily deal.
Okay. Okay. Other thoughts or
I
discussion?
think there's actually an advantage to not opening up the parking lot. We make it accessible, but we don't make it a flood coming in through the wetland, lowland area that is near the first fairway. So I wouldn't push to do that.
Little frustrated right now, because I've been on Zoom with my hand raised.
Oh, so I thought I'm sorry about that. I thought I looked to see if your hand was raised, so I apologize if I missed that. So I apologize.
I was the every person the last 2 years.
Okay. Okay,
That's
now,
my
now,
fault.
I'm sorry. Would you like to comment at this time?
Well, I missed the conversation, but
Oh.
twice I heard the beginning of it, which is why I jumped in.
Okay.
Um,
I'm sorry that I missed your hand. I really was, I knew you were on and I thought I was looking, but I clearly missed that, so.
I just,
Okay,
yeah, no, so I missed the whole thing as far as what's being done, of course, if it's used off season.
so let me try to summarize. So I think what we've talked about so far is, you know, there's some informal use of the course today of neighbors, and there's no protection. And so we've talked about, you know, not changing that. And we haven't really gotten to a proposal here. We've just been kind of brainstorming around, you know, what might we want to do there? Tim was talking about maybe 1 or 2, you know, a few more organized activities out there. Maybe a cross, you know, a snowshoe walk. I think that's what you had said. We were just talking about, well, the parking lot's closed all winter, you know, would there ever be a reason to open the parking lot? So we haven't gotten to that yet, just talking about it. And maybe you heard in the beginning, we're saying, you know, certainly you have to protect the course. Anything that is added, the course needs to be protected. So I think that's pretty much what we've talked about so far.
Financials, because I would think if there's a fee for whatever programs you run, that some amount should come in golf course fund.
I think
Tony,
that's
it's very difficult to hear Lynn.
Okay.
Sorry.
So Lynn said, you know, maybe
Hey, Bill.
I'll let you.
Hello, Lynn.
Speak.
No, what I said is that I believe is that if programs off season are being run and there's a charge for them, then some amount of money should come into the golf course fund that's being used to,
You made that comment last
Yes.
time as well. We
Yeah.
haven't talked about any charges.
yeah, so, you know, that was my own thing. And obviously, biggest concern is that, I mean, the priority for this course has to be golf. And so things need to be done to make sure the golf course is protected. So,
I think we're all in agreement.
okay.
So please continue to point that out, Lynn. So I think because we really want to protect the golf course.
Yes.
That's
the big part.
That's right. And so if we can find some non-damaging off-season uses, then perhaps there's an option there. And you make a very good point about finances. So if there are some fees, then we should, you know, consider how fees flow. So that seems very reasonable. Are we done with the discussion? Any other discussion, comments on this topic right now before we discuss next possible steps?
So next steps, but. You're fine. Oh, you're fine. You're my exercise. My only thing would just be next steps. If this is something you want to entertain, I mean, I can go back with my programmer and come up with some ideas. And leverage some of the things that we have in our arsenal of tricks. And see if it's something, we can put something together.
Yeah.
Financially as well, with a revenue share, all that, we can kind of put a full package and see if it'd be something you want to entertain.
I think the committee
makes
is in
perfect
agreement that we'd like to hear some thoughts. So a proposal, so thank you very much for taking the time
Yeah.
to do that. Subject to protecting the course, but you know, it'd be great.
Just a
So we're-
logistical question. Sequencing meetings. So that winter doesn't go by before we sort of thought it through and come to a decision. When would you folks likely next address it?
When do you next meet?
I don't know. That was gonna be the next step.
So how long would you like to come up with a proposal? Let's go with that.
I mean, we, obviously the holidays are
Yeah.
hitting, so we could probably have something in early January.
Okay, So
Easily.
we'll schedule a meeting for like the third week of June. How about that?
Yeah.
So we'll give you a month.
Okay.
And you know, just come back with some thoughts. That would be great.
Got it.
Okay.
Tony,
Okay.
Tony, if I could jump in for a second. Given the nature of the winter programs, I think Tim almost has to do these on a pop-up basis because we don't know when we're going to get sufficient snow. It's conceivable we have a nice storm at the end of December and then that's it for the rest of the winter. So, you know, quicker is better on this.
Would it be helpful if we put something together and it was distributed by email, just for reference? Obviously, no discussion. And then if there was something that, you know, maybe the chair could reach out individually and then you could have a quick Zoom or something like that to discuss.
So how about this? I will propose that we have our next meeting the second week of January. And if we have something to discuss then, you know, that would be great. And I think it might be if we settle on something and it just can't come together for this year, well, then it will be next winter. But if something can come together for this winter that we all agree to, then that'd be fine. But how about if we'll target a meeting the second week of January, and so if something could be done, then great. Yes, Lynn.
Just a question for John.
Yes.
Wondering if- And maybe.
We already discussed this, then do something that you looked at, and flag.
Right, yeah, and I just don't know the timing with the ground freezing.
I wouldn't likely, I don't see a program happening this year.
Oh,
because
Yeah, I think
you guys
so.
advertise with the program.
Didn't, Tony, we can't hear any of that.
Well, so
Sorry,
I will,
Sorry, Bill. Yeah, my question was, I was asking John about what needs to be done to protect the greens and maybe the tee boxes and probably the sandbags as well, right? And, you know, with the ground getting frozen, so the question is, you know, are we looking at something that would happen this year? Because once the ground's frozen, it's not much.
We don't know. You never know what's gonna happen, but basically it's up to them. You have coordination with that. You still have to approve the programs.
Right.
And everything else, and I think it's time wise that, you know, you're ready to January, when you have another meeting, and then going forward, I would assume someone have to advertise something, and usually you don't do it on the internet.
Yeah.
Unless you have a
So-
spring program. You probably work on your spring program.
so
That's to say, it's something to look at in the future.
I will propose here that we take one step at a time.
Okay.
So we'll have a proposal and we'll see what the proposal says. And we'll understand the implications and we'll decide what to do. So I'm sure there will be many twists and turns on this path. And we'll learn what they are as we get into more discussion.
And if anything, I'm just happy we're opening the conversation.
Yeah,
So if it's not this year, it could be next.
it seems like, in my opinion, it seems reasonable that we'll find some things that can be done that protect the course and are more uses of that area for the town. So I think that'd be great. Okay.
One
I
more
think
question.
some of that just-
No, I have one more question, Tony. And this is for Tim. Tim, when you schedule these kinds of things and you charge people for them, don't you just basically try and cover your expenses? Are we talking any real profitability? And this goes back to Lynn's comment about a revenue share. Seems to me there's not a whole lot of revenue to be shared.
Correct, yeah, I mean, our goal, like you said, is just to cover costs. We operate out of a revolving account as well. So it's money in, money out. So any of the expenses that we're incurring, it's our goal to recoup them, pay those out and kind of be done. Time to time, we make a little bit that we can pass on to other programs or additional staff, things of that nature, but we're not looking to make bundles and bundles of cash. That's,
Yes, Lynn?
So that just means that whatever's charged should cover whatever has to be done to protect the course.
So I'm going to stay on the path of, we'll take one step at a time. So when we have a proposal of what we might want to consider and what the fees might be, then we'll discuss what those implications might be. So for now, I think we'll leave it at, we'll have a meeting, we'll target a meeting the second week of January, and if we have a proposal, then we'll consider what the contents of that proposal might be.
The signage subcommittee has a new task that involves placing the sign that says no sledding in the summer.
There we go. Okay, any other discussion on potential winter uses? Excellent. Well, I think, thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you.
I think we'll watch that play out. Some other topics then. So I think we all saw the course financial summary. Did I think,
Yeah.
or at least the committee members. So I will summarize here. And thank you, Sam, for this information a few days ago. So the final round count for 2022 was 22,411 as compared to just about 10% higher than 2021. So that's a very interesting outcome. And the revenue was up from, in 2021, it was $518,000, rounding off a little bit, to $600,000 this year. So revenue up more than 10%. So that seems like that's a very good outcome for the course. Reflects increased usage, obviously, and then, you know, bring some more cash in that can be allocated by the town to continue to make improvements at the course. So that seems like a great outcome. Also thought it was worth just reviewing Lynn, so thank you for sharing your information about the Ladies League. I guess the single largest user of the golf course. It must be.
I already have 3 new people signed up for next year.
So would you like to talk to us briefly about what a good year you guys had?
No, we just had, I think I don't actually didn't print out my report because I was on. I ran out of the house quickly to get down here in person. Yeah, so one of the things, since I took over the league, which probably is kind of crazy in some ways, but
You're doing a
essentially-
great job, by the way.
You're
So I think everyone must love having you do this.
But I essentially extended the league, so we play until it gets too cold or the other course closes. So yeah, so we had a total of 59 users and 19 of those people were new to the league this year. We golfed 31 weeks. That does not include that last week when the second week in November, when one person showed up. Total rounds of golf, $743, over $14,000 in greens fees, and cart fees, which is a way low estimate, was like $2,000. That was just for people who always ride. But the highest attendance was actually 39, and the average, not counting 3 weeks, when it was really bad weather, was 26. So it was a great week, and 90% of the women stay afterwards to socialize. I bring iced coffee, and 2 people bring bacon, bring snacks, so it was great. And Mike, who works on Monday mornings, takes wonderful care of us. He's terrific. So no, it's great. And like I said, I already have 3 new people signed up for next year. So, yeah.
Well, again, so thank you for doing that on behalf of the town, right? So I'm jealous. That sounds like way too much fun.
Oh, we do. We're. John's been in the clubhouse. You guys have been in the clubhouse. Yeah. We're not a part of it.
Do we have to consider hiring some security for this group? John, okay, I'm gonna keep going through the list. So Bill, you organized a legal discussion with the town attorney that you and I and Sam sat in on. Do you think there's anything we should describe here for everyone?
Sure, I think we should put a pin in it. The topic arose when, well, you guys knew about it. When I joined the committee, I became concerned that we didn't have an opinion as to how to proceed. We had asked Sam. Sam didn't know whether the selectmen select people had tied off with council. So we wanted to have a quick conversation and just make sure that, that by changing the course layout, we weren't opening ourselves up to potential further liability or legal hassle. In fact, council was aware of the issue, had read the letter, had responded to the letter, and had no problem with the course, well, that's the wrong word, to the path that you've chosen to take, and that is investigating the moving of the two Ts, which, as we said earlier, is now out to bid. So from my perspective, I think we're taken care of there. We're not doing this on our own. We in fact do have the blessing of council.
Excellent. Any discussion about that? Questions? Okay. Thought maybe we could talk about just the sprinkler proposal briefly. I think that I forwarded to you guys. Did I?
I think not.
Oh, and that's my mistake. So I will do that. So, my mistake. So Bill from the management company sent, a diagram and an estimate for putting in a single row sprinkler system. And the bottom line is it came to $450,000. And so after some discussion with Bill, he thought that was really the right solution, that it was appropriate for the course as it is, for this kind of course. And thought it would provide good coverage. You know, he reiterated again that the current sprinkler system is failing or could fail at any moment. So I think so. We've all been talking about this for a number of meetings now, that we need to do something about the sprinkler system there. He also said that it could be just the water source could continue to be the MWRA pipe on Ladiswana, that this sort of a system could be fed. There's enough pressure, enough water for this sort of a system, so we wouldn't have to put in a well or some other storage solution. So, so I apologize. I will forward that out to you guys just so that you can see it, and then we can consider how we might want to take next steps on it.
I just know Sam had made a point in, I think, our most recent meeting, that if we try to float a bond, that we'd be well advised to aggregate all of our big capital expenditures and then maybe select them on a menu style if we can't get the whole bundle. Since the paving may drive things, this is the point I'm trying to make, since the paving may occur, the opportunity may occur before we're ready on anything else. Is that estimate from the management company solid enough that we can use that to underpin a request? And if not, what do we have to do?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. I should have added one more thing in my commentary that when I ran into Mark Purple earlier this morning, I said, so what about sprinklers? How do we take the next step on sprinklers? And he said, well, given this estimate, that he thought a discussion with what CPC, what does CPC stand for? Community Preservation Committee, that he thought the Community Preservation Committee might be an option for funding this work. And so I thought, okay. So we agreed that he was going to send an email message, I think today, to the head of the CPC committee, who was going to copy me, and just open this discussion with CPC. Is this a path for that committee? They have some source of funding, or how, what it is, or how much money they have, but they have a source of funding that, if that could be used to cover a sprinkler system, in that kind of ballpark of a financial investment, then that would be a fine outcome. So we'll investigate that for a while. And I apologize for not sending you guys that information. I'll forward that out to you guys so you can see it. I'll forward you the note that Mark sends to the head of the CPC. And I think we keep talking about this. We explore how to get, I think we're all in agreement that, we ought to do something about the sprinklers. And so, but I guess I should ask, is there any concern that anyone has about a single row sprinkler system? And I will say, like, doing more than that, Bill thought was going to be dramatically more expensive, north of $1 million. He talked about how expensive sprinkler systems can get. So kind of with that little bit of information, and any comment from you guys about a single row sprinkler system?
I'll comment quickly. the expertise that has been provided to us by the management company. Plus the concern that absent a well or something like that, we are with every additional grow incurring more water billing from the MWRA. Thinking of the printer versus printer ink cartridge model or shaver versus shaving cartridge model, that's where the big bucks are. Over the course of time, I think a modern single grow would be infinitely better than what we've got now. And probably sufficient. I'm not an expert, but that makes sense to me.
Tony, please just define what is single row? It sounds like it's one pipe down the middle of the fairway with sprinklers that run off that. And then I guess some installations around the greens and the tee boxes.
That's correct. So there's a little diagram that, again, I will forward out to you guys so you can see the proposal, but that's exactly it. So, so what it doesn't cover much are areas of runoff.
So the areas where I spend the most of my time will not be treated. I may be a tough vote on this one, Tony.
Well, so
But
now
I'll reserve opinion.
you make an excellent point here, Bill. I don't know how much we want to cater to your particular style of golf. So, but yes, so areas of rough would not be covered. Lynn, you had a comment you'd like to make there?
No, I was just gonna say that, as long as the management, as long as they believe that's sufficient, and it's not gonna be something that in 5 years are gonna say, gee, we should have done more, if they believe that's sufficient to keep the fairways.
Bill was pretty strong in his recommendation that for, this type of course and this kind of setting and the constraints that we have, that this was a really good outcome.
Okay, yeah, no. I
And certainly it's
wanna do it right.
dramatically more authority.
Yeah.
Than trying to do something much more sophisticated.
Yeah.
One question, and you probably have it in the diagram, but John probably knows it as well. Single row, what about fairways 3 and 4, which, as you know, run parallel? Are we proposing one pipe to service both of those fairways?
It's not so much it's the
These are the
design.
worst areas.
Design is proper for what we want. Areas that it's playability up the fairways. Occasionally, some fairways are wider. Those isolated areas is double, 2 heads. So it's not single row and only half the fairway gets done. So those there is some consideration there,
Okay,
and then, so, as far as everything you've heard so far, and you all know my stance, that's all I've been talking about since the board was put together. So, and it seems like you're going in the proper direction. Everything seems to be spinning a little bit faster now. I'll entertain questions, but I'm not going to interrupt anything. I have no concerns with it. It seems like it's in the process. So, that's what a single row does around the greens, around the tees. And the biggest thing is that you have the ability to use electricity. It's called electric valve and heads for everything. It's a quicker system. And I'm sure Lynn's seen water run when she's out playing golf. Unfortunately, that's the way it has been. People are used to it because that's just the way it is. But no one is used to it at any other golf course. Okay, unless it's very hot and it's stuff that was syringe. So the system would be efficient, especially with the day and age we're into. The programs that are run, they're all run at night and water's not being used by your residents. So.
Okay. One other thing that Bill and I talked about, we just talked roughly about time frame. If we, tried to pursue this, what should we aim for? And we kind of settled on, well, you can't really pull this together for next year, but hopefully you could pull it together for the following. So maybe the 2024 season could be with the new sprinkler system in place. So obviously not a commitment, but as a target, given a lot of steps and hoops we have to, go through. Get through next season, but then hopefully have a better sprinkler system in place. Any other discussion about sprinklers?
I just have one concern. Have we thought about how much added usage of water is going to cost, and we can comfortably cover those costs?
Bill said something about maybe the water usage would double, but I could be wrong about that. So John is coming up to
Yeah.
comment here.
Presently, the price of the water is not borne by the town, it's borne by the management. So it's really not an issue for the board or the town.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other questions, guys, about the comments on sprinklers? Okay, so I will forward out that email message, so you guys can all see, I'll keep you posted on this discussion with the CPC committee. See how fast that proceeds, but I think, we try to fit this into whatever financial envelope we're all gonna be working with here. That'd be a great outcome if we could put some new sprinklers in for 2024. That was my list of other chairperson updates. Moving back to the agendas, of course, marketing, I haven't prepared anything for this. I think I might have asked that we put this on here, but I didn't prepare anything for this, so maybe we'll skip that one for now.
You did, and just to refresh you, we were talking about it in the context of refreshing the website,
Oh, that's right, refreshing the website.
the overlay with signage, all that kind of stuff, and I'm perfectly happy setting it aside from the one, but we thought it would be a standing agenda item.
So, okay, thank you. So why don't we leave this on here? So I think the refreshing the website is worthy, and certainly that is tied in with the signs, so it's more obvious. Who's responsible? You guys, John, you guys are responsible for the website, is that
Yeah,
correct?
the website doesn't refresh. So that's something that's new this year, the way the website is, so that's how we proceeded all our properties. Really the paying, when you add in and do, said. Yeah, 10 to 15% increase in play today with this year. With our advertising, it's.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Tony, would
what-
you summarize that, please?
John, could you come up and say that again, please? We're
I
gonna
just
get-
like seeing, I
Yeah,
just like seeing
so-
John back and forth, back and forth.
He needs.
I wish you would. Right now, we've had the website was refreshed last year. It was a new website that we are responsible for. It's our website, and we do it to, with the same website at all our locations. It's more efficient on the business aspect side of it. So, that has been done, and that was, again, it was all redone last year, and after one website for, 4 to 5 years. We'll probably look into it in a few years or whatever, and update it as needed. And we do update it with notices, and whatever needs to be done. And then the other thing was, as you said, it's we had a 10 to 15% increase in revenues from town this year, based upon our own marketing right now. So, the cost benefits analysis there. So, I think it's working what we do now. It's something we always look to improve, tweak.
Yeah, so I guess I would encourage everyone on the committee to go look at the website if you haven't. So maybe, we'll keep coming back to this every time we meet. I think maybe there could be further improvements on the website, but why don't you guys all go take a look, try it out, take it for a spin, and we can talk about it. Now, the other thing, I don't know so I think the town is gonna update its website. I think there's a big project has been proposed to update the town websites. I don't know if there's an opportunity there for maybe the golf course to figure, fit in there in some way. I have no idea. So I think that maybe we'll just consider that a little bit too. Maybe there's a way of helping to market the course, more so from the town website. Yes, Lynn?
Yeah, and I think one thing we might talk about this at a previous meeting was that the whole history of the course.
Yeah,
It's really tough. It's like it's very, very buried. And I think we talked at a
Yeah.
previous meeting about, because that's interesting for people to see and having it. So it's kind of more towards, easily available to people.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of.
okay, we're gonna keep coming back to this topic for a while, but maybe that's enough on that for today. Any other matters that we all want to consider right now?
Two quickies, Tony. I've got my hand up and I'll pull it down again. I did try and pull historical information from my conversation with St. Mark's. There's really very little out there. So to Lynn's point, what's on the web is probably pretty comprehensive already. My other comment about that concerns the marketing for the course. I think it'd be very helpful as a resident to have a better understanding of how does the financing of the course work, the fund that we feed, et cetera. I had originally thought we might ask John to create a separate page that we would feed where we had that kind of background information, but maybe it's more appropriate to have that as a page on the town website instead, because people who are coming from afar to read about the course don't need to be bothered about how it's funded. Residents, on the other hand, might.
All right, so I think that's a very pretty interesting point, actually. That if there was an expanded or whatever, an enhanced part of the town website about the course, there should be pictures of the ladies. There could be more representation of how the course is being used by the town. And including more information for the town about how the course is paid for. And how the funds flow. I think that's a great idea. So I will keep coming back to that. Yes.
Just to finish on that thought, I think the description for the town of how this all works drops out of our analysis of the contract and the modeling that we do into the future. I think it's a logical to have those two work together.
Makes sense.
And I mean, every year I do an article on my Southborough about the Women's League, but there's no reason that this committee couldn't do something at the beginning of the season on my Southborough. And that's how some people find out about the league. And
Yeah.
just to, what are the leagues, what's going on with the course, maybe talk about some of the improvements, maybe even do a couple, but it's a good way to, I think, publicize the course to, people. And I mean, I have people who found out about the league because of the article in the Southborough. So,
Excellent.
Particularly as we consider these improvements like water, that'll be quite a selling point.
that should be a big article when that happens on my cell phone.
Yeah, that's true. So that's great. Okay, well, good. So it's good we have this as a agenda item. We'll leave it on as an agenda item. And we'll keep working our way down there. Okay, any other public comments?
Just a question, what happened to Robert? Is he on our committee or not?
Okay, so Sam, we will ask you to join the conversation here. Now, perhaps you don't know what we do about this, but we have a committee member who joined the committee when Bill did, so 4 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that, who has not participated. We have not heard from him in any real way.
Reached
Maybe there
out a
was-
bunch of times.
and so, we want to be fair, but also want to, thank you very much, Lynn. So how do you suggest, any thoughts about how we proceed with a committee member who's not able to attend?
I would request Mr. Purple or Ms. Hale follow up and determine what he wants to do. And if he decides to continue, great. If he says that it's not working in terms of his schedule, then the option would be for him to resign and find another committee member, I think.
Okay,
We don't actually have any mechanism that I'm aware of to actually force somebody.
and I don't want to,
do that.
force someone, but just wondering what a
Yeah.
next step might be.
Yeah, you need, it's valuable to have a full set of members, and
Yeah.
a lot of work to do. So again, I think the effort is to contact him, figure out, what makes sense going forward, and then go from there. Mark and or Vanessa have done those kinds of communications in the past.
They may have alternate paths for the guy that I've been reaching out via the email. that
Yeah.
was provided. to you.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
thank you for
not
that
perfect,
advice.
but,
I will follow up with Mark Purple on that topic.
One other comment on an earlier topic, the Community Preservation Committee. They get 1% surcharge on our tax bills into through the Community Preservation Act that we approved like 20 years ago now. And those funds are for a variety of things like open space, housing, et cetera. And the opportunity there is to go to CPC and request funding for projects that fit within their scope and their state laws that determine what that scope is. So I think there's potentially a great source of funding. I think there's going to be an effort at the next town meeting to increase that surcharge because we get a greater state match on those funds with an increased surcharge. So not clear how that's going to go, but I think that makes fiscal sense for the town. And again, it's a great source of funding for things like the Beals Preserve, for example, the development rights to that, or preservation rights to that, were purchased through CPC funding. And 84 Main Street, I think, was also, I think that was part of the CPC as well. So again,
And so you think that the sprinklers is a plausible,
I don't actually know the details, but
Okay.
it's certainly worth the conversation.
Yep.
Mark's gonna
Okay.
reach out to him.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the chair lives off the end of one of your fairways. And has a large golf ball production.
Well,
That-
that
that-
person
that
is
maybe-
invested in the future of the golf course.
that'll be part of your discussion.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So
Okay.
anyway, great opportunity for funding and certainly worth pursuing. So. And congratulations on the record financial results. Over 600K is fantastic.
Well, I think previous committees and the golf management
Yeah.
company and
Everybody-
everyone in town has done a great job with this golf course.
I
mean,
remember
it's great.
clearly the gloom and doomsayers when the purchase of the property was contemplated, that it's going to be a financial albatross of the town and no way that it's ever going to succeed, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very, very encouraging to see exactly what's happened here. And recreation resource expansion is a great opportunity as well. So kudos to everyone.
Yeah, kudos to everyone in town and yeah, I mean, what a great asset for the town. So
Thank you.
thank you, Sam. Okay, I think that's our agenda unless anyone has anything else. Maybe we'll schedule our next meeting. So can we look at our calendars and discuss? Like Thursday, January 12th, perhaps? Any objections? Thursday, January 12th.
I will first apologize for the fiasco with the December 1st meeting. That was me entirely. Blew that.
The second one was me then. So,
Any
I'm happy to
agenda
blame it
item-
all on Tony.
I don't like doing it.
thank you, Ben. Thank you. It's such a
Any
good meeting
agenda
to have
items
here.
that anybody has that they want on, I'm gonna have to submit the agenda early-ish, but that's what hung me up the last time. So any agenda items that aren't already obvious, please send them my way in the next week or so. And I will structure that meeting.
Excellent. All right, I think we're
There's a small
prepared to,
chance that might be Martin Luther King Day, I don't know.
The 12th is a
Is
Thursday,
that on
so
the
no.
Mondays?
yeah, I don't think so.
King Day is 16th.
Okay, good, and the townhouse.
That's, yes, okay. Excellent. I think we're ready to adjourn then. I think we need a motion.
I move we
So
adjourn.
moved.
And a second.
Second,
Excellent. Okay, roll call vote. Nick,
A motion to adjourn.
you have to say.
Aye.
Bill,
I approve.
Ira,
aye.
and I'm also up. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Very good meeting. We'll have a nice holiday season and we'll see you in January.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.